Over 1 million Americans now call an RV their home. For some, it's freedom, but for many, it's survival. Cities across the country are overwhelmed. Parking lots turning into neighborhoods, highways lined with broken-down rigs. Today, we're uncovering the 15 U.S. cities where the RV homelessness crisis has spiraled completely out of control. Let's get rolling. Los Angeles has become the epicenter of America's RV homelessness crisis. More than 4,000 RVs now serve as full-time homes across the city, meaning roughly 1 in 5 unsheltered Angelenos lives in a vehicle.
And Los Angeles has become the country's most notorious tent city and the epicenter of America's homeless crisis. The area is sprawling, and it's not just a collection of tents under an odd bridge here or there.
These makeshift residences crowd major corridors like Venice Boulevard, Sepulveda, and areas near the Bologna wetlands, creating entire neighborhoods on wheels. The crisis stems from LA's perfect storm of challenges: mild year-round weather, skyrocketing rents averaging over $2,900 per month, and a severe shortage of affordable housing. For displaced families, veterans, and low-income workers, vehicles have become the last refuge when apartments are out of reach. The city's Inside Safe initiative has attempted to clear encampments and provide temporary housing, but progress remains frustratingly slow. In some neighborhoods, residents report up to 100 RVs parked per mile, many broken down and leaking sewage onto public streets. Enforcement proves equally complicated. Towing and impounding each vehicle costs approximately $8,000, leaving city storage yards overflowing with abandoned RVs and straining municipal budgets. This crisis reflects California's broader struggles with income inequality, insufficient affordable housing construction, and a broken system that pushes vulnerable residents to the margins. What emerges is a visible symbol of systemic failure, transforming freeways and side streets into sprawling communities of people surviving on society's edge. San Francisco confronts its own vehicle homelessness crisis, with approximately 400 to 450 large vehicles, mostly RVs, serving as full-time residences for people priced out of the housing market.
Tackling a new phenomenon in San Francisco's homeless crisis, the city is seeing an uptick in families experiencing homelessness.
With median rents exceeding $3,300 per month and recent tech industry layoffs displacing workers, vans and campers have become last resort shelters along streets like Division, Cesar Chavez, and Candlestick Point. The city has attempted innovative solutions, including a vehicle triage center in Bayview, designed to safely accommodate about 150 vehicles while providing sanitation services and case management. Yet demand vastly outstrips capacity, leaving hundreds without access to these resources. Simultaneously, enforcement has intensified. Overnight parking bans for oversized vehicles now cover many streets, reflecting growing neighborhood frustration over fires, sewage leaks, and vandalism complaints. Community debates have become increasingly polarized. Residents demand cleanup and safety measures, while advocacy groups argue these policies criminalize poverty rather than address its root causes. This tension between compassion and enforcement defines San Francisco's struggle with vehicular homelessness. The sight of aging RVs parked along city streets has become one of the Bay Area's most visible symbols of extreme wealth inequality. A stark reminder that even in one of America's wealthiest regions, thousands live paycheck to paycheck, one emergency away from losing their housing entirely. Seattle's King County faces one of America's highest concentrations of vehicle homelessness per capita, with roughly 3,000 to 3,500 people living in vehicles, over half residing in RVs.
So there are over 12,000 people who are living unhoused or homeless or unsheltered in Seattle. 1/4 is living in vehicles.
The city's tech-driven housing boom has pushed average rents above $2,400 per month, while shelter capacity remains inadequate, forcing thousands into mobile living situations. RV encampments cluster primarily in industrial neighborhoods like Interbay, SoDo, and Georgetown, where street parking regulations are more relaxed. Seattle's Safe Lot initiative, launched in 2023, offers limited spaces with sanitation facilities, power hookups, and outreach services. However, most RV residents still live off-grid, relying on gas generators or battery banks for basic needs. Public safety concerns have escalated alongside the crisis. Fires caused by faulty propane heating systems have surged 20% since 2022, prompting emergency response calls and community alarm. Frustrated neighborhoods have pressured city officials to conduct periodic sweeps of encampments, Yet these enforcement actions typically just relocate RVs to different streets rather than solving underlying problems. Seattle's situation highlights a fundamental policy contradiction. Progressive rhetoric about housing as a human right collides with restrictive zoning laws that limit affordable development. This gap between ideals and implementation perpetuates what has become a visible humanitarian crisis. Thousands of residents surviving in aging vehicles, caught between a housing market they cannot afford and a shelter system with no room left. Portland faces a mounting RV homelessness crisis that has transformed city streets into extended vehicle encampments. As of early 2025, approximately 1,000 to 1,200 vehicles serve as dwellings, with roughly one-third being RVs. Rising rents averaging $2,000 per month, combined with evictions during the 2023-24 economic downturn, pushed hundreds of residents into vehicles as their last housing option. Long-term RV clusters line major corridors including NE 33rd, Columbia Boulevard, and the Lentz neighborhood, most without access to basic sanitation. In response, the city launched Safe Rest Villages, designed to accommodate up to 60 RVs per site, providing portable restrooms and trash collection services. While some neighborhoods embrace these humanitarian efforts, others demand stricter enforcement against vehicle camping. Community complaints about fires, illegal dumping, and blocked sidewalks reflect growing tensions. Portland's geography, mild climate, expansive industrial zones, and relatively lenient parking regulations inadvertently facilitates vehicle dwelling, allowing residents to remain mobile while searching for stability. City officials now estimate that 25% of Portland's unsheltered population lives in vehicles, a proportion that continues climbing despite cleanup sweeps and pilot rehousing programs. This growing crisis underscores the city's struggle to balance compassion with enforcement, affordable housing development with neighborhood concerns, ultimately leaving hundreds trapped in a cycle of displacement on wheels. Phoenix has experienced a rapid surge in RV homelessness, fueled by extreme rent increases and the dismantling of The Zone, the city's largest downtown encampment. Advocates estimate 1,500 to 2,000 people now live in vehicles across Maricopa County, with concentrations of aging RVs along corridors like Grand Avenue and Buckeye Road. Unlike coastal cities, Phoenix confronts a uniquely deadly challenge: summer temperatures regularly exceeding 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Without air conditioning or power hookups, RVs transform into metal ovens where heat-related illness and death become constant threats. Fire departments respond to dozens of propane and electrical fires annually as residents jury-rig cooling and power systems in desperate attempts to survive. City cleanup operations have dismantled major encampments, yet alternatives remain scarce. Shelters operate at full capacity, and vehicle impound fees running into thousands of dollars trap residents in impossible choices between homelessness and debt. Recognizing the life-threatening conditions, nonprofits have begun deploying mobile cooling centers and battery charging stations specifically for RV residents, offering temporary relief during brutal summer months. Phoenix's crisis starkly illustrates how the Southwest's rising cost of living collides with extreme climate conditions. What were once symbols of freedom and adventure, recreational vehicles exploring open roads, have become survival shelters baking on scorching asphalt, housing vulnerable populations with nowhere else to turn as temperatures climb to lethal levels. San Diego's coastline has long drawn full-time vehicle dwellers, but rising costs and tightening enforcement have created increasingly volatile conditions. As of 2025, approximately 1,800 to 2,000 residents live in cars, vans, and RVs, concentrated near Mission Bay, Ocean Beach, and Pacific Highway. The city operates one of the nation's largest safe parking programs, providing roughly 260 designated spaces with basic amenities. Yet demand far exceeds capacity, leaving waiting lists perpetually full. In 2024, stricter ordinances banned oversized vehicle parking between 2 and 6 a.m., effectively pushing RV communities farther inland and away from coastal neighborhoods. Most residents survive off-grid using generators or solar panels, creating makeshift electrical systems to power basic necessities. However, complaints about sewage dumping and trash accumulation have intensified police sweeps and heightened neighborhood tensions. Advocates emphasize that many RV residents are seniors on fixed incomes, unable to afford San Diego's $3,000 average monthly rents or mounting medical expenses. For these vulnerable populations, vehicles represent not lifestyle choices but survival necessities. Despite enforcement pressures, San Diego's mild year-round climate continues attracting displaced people from across California and beyond, solidifying its status as one of the state's largest hubs for vehicular homelessness. The crisis reflects a broader pattern: desirable coastal cities becoming unaffordable to working-class and retired residents, transforming parking lots and side streets into last-resort neighborhoods for thousands living on society's margins. Las Vegas's RV homelessness crisis has expanded beyond downtown's corridor of hope into industrial zones and North Las Vegas neighborhoods. Local reports estimate 1,200 to 1,400 vehicle dwellers, a figure that has doubled since 2020. Many residents live in decommissioned motorhomes purchased cheaply from auctions or abandoned lots, creating makeshift communities in the desert. Rising rents, now averaging $1,900 per month, combined with high eviction rates, have pushed families to the city's outskirts, where empty desert lots have become ad hoc RV parks. Without running water or electrical hookups, sanitation conditions are severe. Residents rely on buckets and solar showers for basic hygiene. In 2024, Clark County began towing derelict RVs and offering motel vouchers as alternatives, but funding covers less than 10% of those in need. Complicating matters further, local shelters refuse to accommodate people living in RVs, forcing residents into impossible choices: surrender their only asset or remain unsheltered. Las Vegas's economy depends heavily on transient labor servicing its massive tourism industry. Yet the RV crisis starkly reveals how quickly tourism wealth coexists with deep, visible poverty. Just beyond the neon lights and casino floors, hundreds of families and service workers live in aging vehicles on dusty lots, a stark reminder that the city's glittering facade often masks the economic precarity of those who keep it running. Oakland's RV homelessness crisis mirrors San Francisco's struggles, but at an even larger scale per capita. The 2025 point-in-time count identified roughly 500 to 600 inhabited vehicles concentrated along Wood Street, West Oakland, and Coliseum Way. These encampments have experienced over 90 fire incidents in 2023 alone, raising serious safety concerns for residents and surrounding neighborhoods. High rents averaging $2,600 per month, combined with displacement pressure from nearby San Francisco, have pushed many into older RVs purchased for under $2,000. These aging vehicles often lack basic safety features, contributing to fire risks and mechanical failures. The city attempted innovative solutions, establishing a Wood Street RV community pilot program offering water access, waste disposal, and case management for 60 vehicles. However, the site ultimately closed due to persistent safety concerns, leaving residents without alternatives. Constant towing operations, cleanup sweeps, and re-encampment cycles have drained municipal resources while failing to address root causes. Residents describe living under perpetual threat of eviction with nowhere else to go. Oakland's situation illustrates a fundamental tension. Progressive activism advocating for housing justice confronts limited municipal funding and capacity. More broadly, the crisis demonstrates how regional housing markets, not just local policies, create cross-city ripple effects throughout California's homelessness landscape, with displacement in one city directly fueling crises in neighboring communities. San Jose confronts one of America's most expensive housing markets, with median rents exceeding $3,200 per month and a surging population forced into vehicle living. A 2024 city audit identified roughly 700 to 800 RVs serving as primary residences, concentrated in industrial corridors near Berryessa, North 1st Street, and Monterey Road. The city has established limited safe parking zones offering basic amenities, but demand nearly triples available capacity. Many residents are working-class families or tech workers displaced by industry layoffs, surviving on generator power and makeshift sanitation systems. Fires and sewage spills occur regularly, prompting frequent neighborhood complaints and safety concerns. The Silicon Valley paradox becomes starkly visible here. Billion-dollar tech campuses operating mere blocks from long lines of decaying RVs housing displaced workers. Officials estimate that 1 in 4 unsheltered people in Santa Clara County now lives in a vehicle, a proportion that continues climbing despite intervention efforts. Pilot rehousing programs have shown limited success, hampered by the reality that few affordable housing units have actually opened. Development remains slow, blocked by high construction costs, restrictive zoning, and community resistance. This leaves hundreds parked indefinitely along industrial streets, caught between a housing market they cannot afford and a shelter system with no capacity. San Jose's crisis epitomizes how extreme wealth concentration can coexist with, and arguably contribute to, widespread housing insecurity. Sacramento's location between the Bay Area and Central Valley has transformed it into a relocation zone for those priced out of California's coastal cities. As of 2025, estimates suggest 1,000 to 1,200 people live in vehicles, a dramatic increase from fewer than 400 in 2019. The American River Parkway and Richards Boulevard corridors now host sprawling clusters of RVs, trailers, and vans. Sacramento County's average rent has surged to $2,200 per month, while median income remains stagnant, forcing working families into mobile shelters as their only affordable option. The city has experimented with safe ground sites offering limited hookups, sanitation facilities, and social service access, but available space remains woefully inadequate. Residents face regular enforcement sweeps and citations for expired registration tags or illegal dumping violations. Many RVs are decades old and unregistered, complicating relocation and compliance efforts. These aging vehicles often lack basic safety features, creating additional challenges for both residents and city officials. Sacramento's rapidly growing vehicular homeless population underscores how California's housing crisis continues spreading inland, transforming what was historically a more affordable capital region into yet another front line of the state's affordability collapse. The crisis reveals that escaping coastal housing costs no longer guarantees stability. Displacement and vehicle living have become regional phenomena affecting cities throughout California's interior. Fresno has emerged as an unexpected hotspot for RV homelessness, particularly among displaced agricultural and construction workers. City officials estimate 600 to 800 people now live in RVs or trailers clustered around Highway 99, the airport district, and abandoned industrial zones. Unlike coastal cities, Fresno lacks formal safe parking programs, leaving residents without access to sanitation facilities or trash disposal. Summer temperatures regularly exceeding 105 degrees Fahrenheit create life-threatening conditions inside unventilated RVs, where heat-related illness becomes a constant danger. Fresno's median rent, once considered affordable, has surged 70% since 2015, while wages remain stagnant. This combination has pushed working-class families and laborers into vehicles as their last housing option. Police routinely tag and tow derelict RVs, though impound lots quickly reach capacity without solving underlying problems. Churches and nonprofits provide mobile showers and water refills, offering essential relief, but few long-term solutions exist. The city's homeless service budget remains limited compared to larger metropolitan areas, forcing most assistance to come from volunteers and grassroots organizations. Fresno's RV crisis represents California's evolving geography of poverty. Not merely coastal displacement, but interior cities now buckling under secondary migration pressures and economic strain. As housing costs ripple inland, Central Valley communities find themselves confronting crises once associated exclusively with expensive coastal metros, demonstrating that California's affordability collapse has become truly statewide. Tucson's mild winters have long attracted retirees and travelers, but the RV landscape has transformed dramatically. As of 2025, local advocacy groups estimate 800 to 1,000 people living full-time in RVs due to economic hardship. Parking clusters appear along Interstate 10, Grant Road, and near South Palo Verde Park. Many residents are older adults surviving on Social Security or disability income, unable to afford rising rents now averaging $1,600 per month. What once symbolized freedom and adventure has become makeshift shelter, with aging RVs suffering from failing plumbing and electrical systems. The city operates 2 safe lots, providing limited capacity for 50 vehicles each, but most dwellers remain without formal services or support. Summer temperatures regularly reaching 110 degrees Fahrenheit destroy power systems and create life-threatening living conditions inside metal vehicles. Fire and police departments report steady increases in propane explosions and battery-related emergencies as residents struggle to maintain basic cooling and electricity. Tucson's growing RV homelessness crisis exposes the economic fragility of fixed-income retirees and service industry workers. Populations once considered stable, but now priced out of conventional housing. The city's affordability, long a draw for those seeking retirement destinations, has eroded as costs climb, while Social Security benefits remain flat. The result? Hundreds of vulnerable seniors and low-wage workers surviving in deteriorating vehicles, caught between inadequate income and disappearing affordable housing options. Denver's housing boom and tech influx have pushed thousands toward alternative living arrangements. By 2025, local outreach programs estimate roughly 1,500 people reside in vehicles, with a significant portion living in RVs. Extensive RV rows line Federal Boulevard, Globeville, and Elyria-Swansea neighborhoods, clearly visible from Interstate 70. Colorado's harsh winters make vehicle dwelling particularly dangerous. Residents rely on propane heaters for survival, frequently causing fires or carbon monoxide poisoning incidents that strain emergency services. Average rents have climbed to $2,400 per month, while homelessness has surged 35% over 2 years, creating an affordability crisis once unthinkable in this former opportunity city. Denver introduced ordinances allowing temporary safe outdoor spaces equipped with heating stations and security patrols, but capacity remains woefully inadequate for current need. Meanwhile, complaints about waste dumping and blocked streets have prompted enforcement sweeps, displacing entire RV clusters overnight without providing viable alternatives. Many dwellers are gig economy workers or families evicted after COVID-era rental protections expired, struggling to regain housing stability in an increasingly expensive market. Denver's RV homelessness reveals how once affordable cities now face the same collapse as the coasts. Soaring rents and rapid migration have outpaced social services, forcing hundreds to endure freezing winters inside vehicles, a stark reminder that even prosperity can leave working people out in the cold. San Bernardino's industrial outskirts and abandoned lots have transformed into vast RV settlements. Estimates suggest 500 to 700 people live in RVs across the metro area, particularly near Waterman Avenue and Hospitality Lane. Decades of economic decline and limited affordable housing, with rents averaging $1,800 per month, have driven both local residents and migrants from Los Angeles into makeshift RV communities. Many vehicles lack running water or electricity, forcing residents to rely on diesel generators that hum constantly, creating noise and air pollution in surrounding neighborhoods. Illegal dumping and fire hazards have overwhelmed sanitation crews and emergency services. City officials periodically tow vehicles in enforcement sweeps, but abandoned or relocated RVs typically reappear within days, making the problem cyclical rather than solvable through removal alone. Local churches provide food and fuel vouchers, offering essential support, yet few long-term housing alternatives exist. San Bernardino's location along major freight routes creates a unique dynamic. Many residents remain semi-mobile, chasing temporary jobs in logistics and warehouse sectors. This employment pattern sustains a transient but semi-permanent subcommunity of RV dwellers surviving between city ordinances and economic necessity. The crisis reflects decades of regional disinvestment, creating conditions where working residents cannot afford traditional housing, yet remain economically tethered to the area, trapped in aging vehicles parked on industrial lots. Spokane's relatively low cost of living once made it a refuge for people priced out of Seattle, but that safety net is rapidly eroding. As of 2025, outreach groups estimate 400 to 500 RVs serve as dwellings across the city, nearly double the count from 2022. Many park along Trent Avenue, Sprague Street, and North Division, creating visible encampments in industrial corridors. Winter temperatures regularly dropping below 20 degrees Fahrenheit make heating a constant, life-threatening struggle. Rising rents averaging $1,600 per month, combined with limited shelter capacity, have intensified the crisis. The Trent Resource and Assistance Center offers services to roughly 300 people, but many RV dwellers decline to abandon their vehicles, fearing loss of belongings and their only remaining asset. City officials face mounting pressure from residents demanding street clearance and restoration of neighborhood stability, while nonprofits advocate for humane alternatives rather than enforcement-focused solutions. Spokane's growing RV homelessness shows how smaller Northwest cities are inheriting the West Coast's crisis. Once an affordable alternative, Spokane now faces rising vehicle homelessness without the funding or housing capacity to manage it. Lacking safe parking areas, resources, and year-round shelters, hundreds struggle to survive harsh winters inside aging RVs parked across the city. Honolulu's paradise image conceals one of America's most severe vehicle-dwelling crises per capita. Roughly 1,200 to 1,400 people live in cars, vans, or RVs, many clustered near Sand Island, Ala Moana, and Kapolei beaches. With median rents exceeding $2,900 per month and severely limited public housing, working families and elderly residents frequently resort to vehicles following eviction. Hawaii's year-round warm climate allows outdoor survival, but enforcement remains exceptionally strict. Overnight beach parking and camping are illegal on most public lands, and police regularly clear encampments, confiscating vehicles without providing alternative shelter options. The city launched a pilot safe parking program in 2024 accommodating 50 vehicles with basic services, but available space filled immediately, leaving hundreds without access. Island economics compound the crisis. Fuel and maintenance costs make RV living extraordinarily expensive, often more than mainland equivalents, forcing many residents to eventually abandon vehicles entirely when they become inoperable. Honolulu's RV homelessness exposes the island's harsh reality: high wages for tourists, low pay for locals, and almost no affordable housing to bridge the gap.
Low-income housing is not only beginning to be a real problem in the United States, but everyone is starting to see symptoms of it, and Los Angeles is a prime example of that.
1.1 million Americans now live full-time in RVs, vans, and campers, not by choice, but because they have nowhere else to go. This is mass displacement on a scale larger than the populations of San Francisco or Seattle combined. 40% of these vehicles don't run. Families are trapped in broken-down trailers, unable to escape parking enforcement or find safer ground. In California, the crisis has exploded. RV homelessness doubled since 2020, with Los Angeles County alone reporting over 14,000 vehicles used as homes. For most, the RV wasn't a lifestyle. It was the final option after eviction, foreclosure, or catastrophic medical debt. But survival costs pile up. Vehicle registration runs $500 plus annually in states like Oregon. Insurance adds another $1,000 per year. Without proper documentation, people face endless tickets, towing threats, and vehicle seizures. This isn't romanticized RV life. It's economic desperation made visible. Rows of immobile RVs line highways and neighborhoods, sparking crackdowns that push people from block to block without addressing root causes. Skyrocketing housing costs and vanishing safety nets. 1.1 million people living in vehicles is a national emergency, a mass displacement event unfolding in real time across America. Vehicle homelessness isn't just a humanitarian crisis, it's physically transforming urban America. Portland has 3,000 plus inhabited RVs jamming residential streets.
It has become the Skid Row for RV homelessness in LA County. People without a home living in hundreds of RVs.
Problems keep mounting for this roving encampment. KCAL's Jasmine.
Los Angeles counted at least 9,800 vehicles used as homes in 2024. Phoenix saw a 75% spike in vehicle dwellers since the pandemic. These aren't functional RVs. Many are burnt-out husks leaking sewage, with plywood covering shattered windows. The impact cascades through neighborhoods. Blocked fire hydrants, ambulance response times up 15% in crowded encampment zones, and mounting safety risks. Fire danger is extreme. In Oakland, nearly 1 in 3 encampment fires in 2023 involved an RV, toxic blazes fueled by propane, batteries, and makeshift electrical systems. Economic damage follows. Businesses lose customers who avoid streets lined with decaying rigs. In Seattle, neighborhoods near large encampments saw home values drop 8 to 12% compared to similar areas without vehicle concentrations. Cities respond with sweeps and parking bans, but people simply move blocks away. Without housing solutions, the cycle repeats endlessly. What's emerging isn't temporary, it's the permanent transformation of urban landscapes into zones of visible, entrenched poverty. America's cities are buckling, and over 1 million people are trapped in the wreckage. Cities are responding to RV homelessness not with housing, but with force. In 2024 alone, Los Angeles impounded over 2,200 inhabited RVs, often in pre-dawn raids.
New at 10 tonight, those living in an RV community in a San Francisco neighborhood are up against the clock. A deadline to leave the area is less than 2 hours away. And this is
Tow fees run $2,000 to $4,000. Impossible sums for people already destitute. In Seattle, 70% of impounded vehicles are never reclaimed, meaning families don't just lose transportation, they lose their only shelter. Sweeps happen fast and without mercy. San Diego cleared over 100 RVs from a waterfront lot in a single night, scattering residents into alleys and unsafe zones. Children lose school supplies, medications, and irreplaceable belongings in the chaos. Legal aid organizations report calls from desperate RV dwellers have tripled since 2022. Cities justify sweeps as addressing public safety or environmental hazards, blocked streets, sewage leaks, but offer zero housing alternatives. The outcome is predictable and cruel. After losing their RV, families sleep in cars, tents, or directly on pavement. What officials call cleanup is actually mass eviction without refuge. This isn't solving homelessness, it's criminalizing survival. Over 1 million Americans live in vehicles because they have no other option. Destroying their shelter doesn't create housing. It just makes invisible people visible, then punishes them for being seen. America's RV crisis is stealing childhoods. An estimated 55,000 to 70,000 children nationwide now live in RVs or vans. In Washington state alone, over 1,500 public school students were identified as vehicle homeless in 2024. Education suffers immediately. Children in vehicles miss school 24% more often than housed peers. No stable address means constant moves, lost records, and disrupted learning. Health deteriorates fast. Without running water, families rely on bottles and gas station bathrooms, causing 3 times higher rates of gastrointestinal illness in children. Cramped quarters spread disease. Basic hygiene becomes nearly impossible. Safety is precarious. Child welfare calls tied to RV encampments rose 41% between 2021 to 2024 in California. Kids face exposure to drugs, violence, and predatory environments with no safe space to retreat. Mental health craters. Studies show these children report twice the levels of anxiety and depression compared to kids in shelters. They live without privacy, stability, or hope, watching parents struggle daily just to survive. For them, an RV isn't adventure. It's a metal cage where childhood disappears. Entire generations are forming inside parking lot encampments, accumulating trauma that will echo for decades. This isn't just homelessness. It's mass developmental damage unfolding in plain sight. As families flee or lose their vehicles to impoundment, a toxic trail of wreckage remains. In 2024, Oregon state crews removed over 1,800 derelict RVs from roadsides.
An unbearable weight of the cost of living on their shoulders, some people have turned to living in RVs as a way to get by. The problem is finding a place to park long term. One area in Calgary has become a subject of controversy. CTV's Kathy Lee spoke with people.
Many stripped for scrap metal before abandonment. Los Angeles cleared 500 plus burned out RV shells, charred remnants of electrical fires or arson. The cleanup costs are crushing. Portland alone spent $26 million in 2 years removing abandoned vehicles. Multiply that across hundreds of cities, and taxpayers are funding a nationwide junkyard operation with no end in sight. Environmental damage spreads invisibly. Engine oil, antifreeze, and human waste leak into storm drains and groundwater. Tires accumulate in illegal dumps. Broken glass, rusted metal, and toxic debris transform neighborhoods into hazard zones. Crime follows decay. Stripped shells become sites for illegal dumping, drug use, and theft. Residents fear streets lined with gutted rigs, and property values plummet. Every abandoned RV tells a human story. A family that couldn't afford repairs, fled a sweep, or simply gave up. What was once their only shelter becomes a public health nightmare, environmental disaster, and municipal money pit. America isn't just displacing over 1 million people, it's leaving a landscape of wreckage in their wake. Without basic infrastructure, RV encampments are becoming biohazard zones. A King County, Washington study found 60% of inhabited RVs lack working toilets. Human waste gets dumped into storm drains, alleys, or buckets emptied onto streets. The scale is staggering. Los Angeles sanitation workers collect over 700,000 pounds of trash monthly from vehicle encampments alone, mountains of garbage with nowhere to go. Disease follows neglect. San Diego's 2023 hepatitis A outbreak infected nearly 600 people, many RV dwellers living without sanitation. Without clean water access, families beg to use gas station or fast food bathrooms and are often refused. Summer brings infestations. Uncollected trash attracts rats, roaches, and flies, spreading illness through cramped quarters where children sleep feet from waste. Stigma deepens the crisis. Neighbors smell sewage, see filth, and demand action, fueling political pressure for sweeps that displace people without solving sanitation needs. For families inside, daily life is humiliating. Bathing in public sinks, rigging makeshift toilets, raising kids in conditions resembling disaster zones rather than neighborhoods. Over 1 million Americans live like this, not by choice, but because cities criminalize poverty while refusing to provide basic human dignity: water, toilets, trash collection. Sanitation isn't luxury, it's survival. America is legislating homelessness out of sight, not out of existence. In 2024, over 40 U.S. cities passed new ordinances banning overnight parking, vehicle sleeping, or utility hookups. The message is clear: being poor and visible is now a crime. Fines crush already desperate families. Citations range from $50 to $500, and many accumulate thousands in unpaid tickets. Warrants follow, then arrests, criminalizing people for having nowhere to go. In Los Angeles, vehicle dwelling violations jumped 27% in 1 year. Cities like Denver and San Francisco deployed specialized vehicle habitation task forces to hunt and clear RVs from streets. The spiral is vicious. A single ticket can suspend a driver's license. No license means no job. No job means no ability to pay fines or move the vehicle. Eventually, the RV gets impounded and the family ends up on the street. There are no housing alternatives offered. Cities aren't building shelter capacity, they're hiring enforcement officers. Civil rights groups call this what it is: criminalizing poverty itself. Laws don't ask why over 1 million Americans live in vehicles. They just punish them for it. Instead of solutions, cities are waging legal warfare on survival, pushing vulnerable people further underground while calling it public safety. Aging, poorly maintained RVs are killing people. Los Angeles Fire Department data shows RV fires increased 58% between 2021 to 2024, with dozens of fatalities. Propane heaters, makeshift stoves, and jury-rigged wiring turn survival shelters into tinderboxes. Carbon monoxide is a silent executioner. In Oregon alone, at least 14 people died in 2023 from inhaling generator fumes while sleeping, likely an undercount, as many deaths are labeled accidental without investigation. Fires spread with terrifying speed. One Oakland blaze destroyed 5 RVs in under 20 minutes, displacing 12 people. Densely packed encampments mean one electrical spark can become mass catastrophe. Survivors lose everything irreplaceable: identification documents, medications, family photos, pets. Firefighters describe hellscapes of melted fiberglass, exploding propane tanks, and charred human remains inside what families called home. This isn't just discomfort, it's nightly Russian roulette. Families choose between freezing or risking fire, between suffocating heat or deadly fumes, between darkness or faulty wiring that could ignite while children sleep. Over 1 million Americans live in conditions where survival itself is life-threatening. Every night in an RV encampment, someone is rolling dice with death, and cities respond by issuing citations instead of safety solutions. As RV communities grow, so does crime. Seattle police report a 34% increase in calls tied to vehicle encampments between 2022 to 2024: theft, assault, drug trafficking. In Phoenix, nearly 1 in 5 property crime arrests in 2024 happen near large encampments. Drug epidemics rage unchecked. Fentanyl and methamphetamine dominate many RV communities, with addiction and overdoses spiking in lawless zones where police rarely patrol except to sweep. Violence thrives without security. Women report elevated sexual assault rates, Disputes over space, generators, or stolen items escalate into stabbings and shootings. No one calls police, because police mean eviction. Stolen goods flow through encampments, recovered in raids that confirm public suspicions and deepen resentment. RV dwellers become painted as criminals, though many are simply victims living alongside predators with no escape. Children witness it all: violence, addiction, desperation, accumulating trauma that shapes futures. Growing up in these environments normalizes chaos and criminalizes poverty in young minds. Residents face a cruel paradox. They're both victims of crime and blamed for it. Instead of safe refuges, RV clusters become flashpoints of instability, fear, and survival-driven violence. Over 1 million people trapped in conditions that breed desperation. Cities respond with raids, not resources, ensuring the cycle continues. The cruelest truth about RV homelessness is this: there's no exit. Affordable housing has vanished while over 1 million people are trapped on wheels. Rents have skyrocketed. Nationwide, they rose 31% between 2019 to 2024. Los Angeles one-bedrooms now average $2,300 per month. Phoenix hits $1,800 plus. Even smaller cities like Spokane saw 42% rent increases since 2020. Wages haven't kept pace. For families earning minimum wage or gig economy income, the gap between an RV parking spot and a lease is insurmountable. Often $1,500 to $2,000 monthly they simply don't have. Safety nets have collapsed. Los Angeles County's Section 8 voucher program hasn't accepted new applicants in 5 years. Waitlists stretch for decades in other cities. Emergency shelters overflow nightly, turning away families who have nowhere else to go. The math is brutal. You can't save for housing deposits while paying vehicle registration, insurance, gas, and fines. One medical bill or car repair wipes out any progress. Without massive investment in affordable housing, RV living isn't temporary. It's a life sentence. Cities sweep encampments, but people just move blocks away because there's literally nowhere else to go. Over 1 million Americans aren't choosing this. They're trapped in a system that criminalizes poverty while refusing to build escape routes. RVs used as shelters aren't just failing as homes, they're failing on the road, endangering everyone. AA reports nearly 25% of RV breakdown calls in 2024 involved vehicles used as permanent residences. The mechanical failures are catastrophic. Tires years past expiration blow out at highway speeds, causing multi-vehicle crashes. Brakes fail under overloaded weight, families stuffing everything they own into rigs never designed for it. Engines seize from years of deferred maintenance. Repairs are financially impossible. Average RV brake jobs cost $1,200 to $2,000. For people choosing between food and registration fees, safety maintenance is a luxury they can't afford. The roads are filling with hazards. California Highway Patrol cited over 1,500 RVs in 2023 for major safety defects. Many are unregistered, uninsured, and mechanically unsound, yet families have no choice but to drive them to avoid parking citations or reach jobs. Collisions are rising. Freeway pileups involving derelict RVs are becoming tragically common. Blown tires send vehicles careening across lanes. Failed brakes turn rigs into runaway missiles. Every trip is Russian roulette, for the families inside and for everyone sharing the road. Over 1 million people are living in vehicles they can't safely maintain, creating a public safety crisis on wheels that grows deadlier every day. Even RV parks, supposedly the refuge for vehicle dwellers, are barricading their gates. The 10-year rule bans RVs older than a decade, spreading rapidly across Florida, Arizona, and California. Parks demand rig photos before booking, screening out the desperate. This excludes most homeless families. Over 60% of lived-in RVs are 15-plus years old. Aging, battered vehicles that can't pass appearance standards designed to keep poverty invisible. Costs have exploded anyway. In 2024, California's average long-term RV spot hit $1,100 per month, often exceeding small apartment rents and requiring upfront deposits, insurance proof, and registration most can't provide. The result? Families who need parks most are rejected, pushed onto city streets, industrial wastelands, or unlit lots where crime and hazards multiply. Meanwhile, luxury RV resorts flourish. gated communities with pools, Wi-Fi, and manicured lawns catering to retirees living their travel dreams. The contrast is staggering. Gleaming motorhomes in resort parks versus burnt-out shells on freeway shoulders. It's a visible caste system. Same vehicles, opposite worlds. One group lives leisure, the other survives in legal limbo. The 10-year rule isn't about safety. It's about social cleansing, ensuring poverty stays hidden while million-dollar coaches enjoy amenities. Over 1 million Americans are locked out of the very infrastructure designed for RVs. The psychological destruction of RV homelessness rivals its physical toll. A 2023 UCLA survey found 72% of RV dwellers reported depression symptoms, and nearly half admitted to suicidal thoughts, rates rivaling war zones. Isolation is crushing. Many avoid shelters fearing their RV will be stolen or impounded, cutting them off from counseling, support groups, and human connection. Families hide inside metal boxes, invisible and alone. Addiction fills the void. In Seattle, fentanyl overdoses linked to RV encampments jumped 62% in 1 year. Drugs numb the hopelessness but accelerate the death spiral. Addiction leads to arrests, which lead to vehicle seizure, which leads to the street. Children absorb generational trauma. Psychologists warn of lifelong damage. Anxiety disorders, attachment issues, normalized instability. Kids growing up in RVs are being conditioned for poverty cycles that may never break. Veterans suffer doubly. Comprising an estimated 11% of RV dwellers, many battle untreated PTSD compounded by homelessness, warriors abandoned in parking lots. Stigma weaponizes shame. Constant harassment from police, neighbors, and passersby deepens despair. Being visible means being hated. Being invisible means being forgotten. Mental health care is non-existent in encampments. Over 1 million people are spiraling into psychological collapse with no safety net, creating an invisible epidemic of despair beneath the visible crisis of poverty. Cities are spending fortunes to criminalize homelessness while refusing to house people. The math exposes the cruelty. Los Angeles spends over $50 million annually on vehicle sweeps and towing, but less than half that on long-term housing for RV dwellers. The city chooses punishment over solutions, preferring to move poverty around rather than end it. Portland cleared over 1,200 vehicles in 2024, but offered shelter to fewer than 300 people. Where did the other 900-plus families go? Nowhere. They just moved blocks away, restarting the cycle. Phoenix banned overnight RV parking across multiple districts, forcing families into desert outskirts with no water, electricity, or emergency services, making survival even more dangerous. The human cost compounds. When RVs are impounded miles from workplaces, residents lose jobs. When judges see unsafe RV conditions in custody hearings, parents lose children. Sweeps don't provide stability. They destroy what little families have left. This is a revolving door that gets more expensive and brutal each rotation. Enforcement costs skyrocket. Homelessness grows. Trauma deepens. Over 1 million Americans need housing, not handcuffs. Cities could build tiny home villages, expand vouchers, or create safe parking with services for a fraction of sweep costs. Instead, they're choosing the cruelest, most expensive failure possible: endless displacement without destination. RV homelessness is no longer just a story of chronic poverty. It's consuming the middle class. A 2024 Pew survey revealed 28% of new vehicle dwellers had household incomes above $40,000 before losing housing. The triggers are sudden and brutal. One medical emergency, one layoff, one rent increase from $1,400 to $2,200. Families with savings, credit scores, and work histories find themselves with nowhere affordable to live. The RV seemed like a solution. Many owned recreational rigs they'd used for family vacations, paid off assets that could become emergency shelter. But the math turns predatory fast. Fuel costs, repairs, registration fees, and constant fines drain whatever income remains. Survival becomes bartering. Former professionals trade food stamps for propane refills or gym memberships for shower access. The indignity is profound. People who followed every rule now negotiating basic hygiene. Parking lots reveal the collapse. Teachers park beside construction workers. Nurses beside laid-off tech workers. The formerly stable beside the chronically poor. All victims of the same rigged system. This isn't about personal failure, addiction, or laziness. It's structural economic violence. Wages stagnant, rents soaring, safety nets shredded. Over 1 million Americans, including the middle class, are learning the same brutal lesson. Stability is one crisis away from a parking lot. For generations, RVs symbolized freedom, retirement adventures, family road trips, the open highway. The industry built a $20 billion empire selling that American dream. That dream is dead. Today, the majority of visible RVs in U.S. cities aren't leisure vehicles. They're survival shelters. Rust-streaked trailers with shattered windows line freeways, not campgrounds. The RV has become the face of America's housing catastrophe. Campgrounds reveal the class war. Retirees in $200,000 luxury motorhomes with satellite dishes park beside families in duct-taped shells struggling for propane money. Same vehicles, parallel universes. The cultural split is undeniable. Social media still pushes van life influencers in pristine Sprinter vans exploring national parks. But documentaries, news coverage, and lived reality tell a darker story. Over 1 million people trapped in mobile poverty, not mobile freedom. The industry faces an image crisis. RV sales still target vacationers, but public perception is shifting. People now associate RVs with desperation, encampments, and sweeps, not adventure. The symbolism is complete. What once represented escape now represents being trapped. What promised freedom now delivers incarceration on wheels. In 2025, the RV isn't vacation fantasy. It's the steel and fiberglass monument to America's failed promise that hard work guarantees shelter. The dream didn't just fade, it burned out on a city street. This isn't just a housing crisis, it's the collapse of the American dream on wheels. Tell me in the comments what you think about cities towing away people's homes in the middle of the night. And don't miss our next video, where we expose the hidden RV laws that could get you fined in 2025. See you there.